Technology.
Love technology.
I love
Actually,
technology.
we do.
Yes.
Actually,
Yes.
we definitely do. Okay, so we're live. Everybody. Hi, everybody. Okay, we'll wait a few minutes till people start coming in. But if you're watching, do me a favor and shoot us a comment because I can see everything in the comments if anybody's there. And I'm here with the fabulous Casey Miller. And I'm going to wait just a few minutes to kind of really officially introduce you, Casey.
Okay. Perfect.
But we will get there. So if you're there, do me a favor, just give me a thumbs up. Just let me know. Just say hey to us. Say hi to me and Casey. Let us know that you're here. And Casey,
So now, will I be able to see? Can I see comments, or you're just going to see comments?
You know, I'm not sure because you're on your phone, but I can see comments.
Okay, good.
I can definitely see comments. Well, I can see my cousin there from Philadelphia. Hi, Wendy Abrams-Studner. Hi, Gretchen. And Gretchen is there. Gretchy Poo is there.
Good.
And I believe that Gretchen was a student at SWIHA years and years ago, right?
She was, and she was also an instructor. Absolutely. So
amazing.
Gretchen would be definitely considered a graduate, a fan, and I can say personally an amazing holistic practitioner.
She is amazing. She's part of our CYL Scream team. Okay, Casey, come a little bit closer to your phone.
Okay.
There we go. I just want to make sure everybody's
yes. Right, there we go. There,
oh, Ms. Barbie Nyman is here. Hi, everybody. Okay, so here's the official introduction to Casey Miller. Known Casey an extremely long time since I started Celebrate Your Life events, and she knew my mom even longer than that. She is the CEO and the founder of the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts and the Southwest Institute of Yoga. And did I say that right? Southwest Institute of Yoga and the Southwest Institute of Natural Aesthetics.
Yes.
And she has an actual physical school as well as an online school. And she is one of the only colleges in the country that is an accredited holistic college. And that is a massive feat in and of itself. So it is always such an honor to talk to Casey because she has really, you're going to share how you got started because it's a phenomenal story. If any of you are out there, entrepreneurs, practitioners, I mean, Casey's the woman to have conversations with and study with in terms of being an entrepreneur, I believe. I'm one of my sisters.
That's going to be our topic today, that entrepreneurs have to live unapologetically. That once we get that call and we know that we're to be doing something in the world, we can't apologize for it. It's like, we can't say, I don't have enough education. I can't. No, it's like, go for it. That's definitely for sure. Well, first, let me just say thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your program today. And I just want to tell you how excited I am about your next week's guest, Rob Bell, and the big event you have coming up. Oh my gosh, I've been reading his book, Everything is Spiritual. And I'm pretty sure he took the title of the book that I should be writing because everything is spiritual. I mean, everything is spiritual. And when you read Rob Bell's book and he says, well, you need to go back to where you came from. I mean, I came from a mastermind group that your mother was in. And so when I'm reading his book and I'm thinking about your event and I'm thinking about SWIHA and I'm thinking about your mother, it actually brings tears to my eyes because everything is spiritual and that everything that we've done has led us up to today. And isn't that yoga? So yeah, am I excited? I'm excited for you and this event that's coming up. And I think it's so fun that's on Halloween. Like,
I know.
What a great day to have a seminar with Rob Bell on Halloween.
Exactly.
And it's on creativity. And so I'm just, blessings to you for all that you've gone through. Didn't you just celebrate your 25th anniversary?
This is our 25th year right now. This is our 25th
year. Yeah,
yep.
Absolutely. So I'm 20, our business is 28 years old. And what I realize is that, wow, there have been some spooky times. And the very fact that your next event is on Halloween, on how to be creative enough to survive all that's going on. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's absolutely phenomenal.
Okay, so very, very quickly, what Casey's referring to, and then I really want to go back to you and your work, okay, just for a second. So what Casey is referring to, there is a gentleman by the name of Rob Bell. He is a huge New York Times, several times over New York Times bestselling author.
Yes.
He's been on Super Soul Sunday. I can't tell you how many times. He's also traveled with Oprah, along with Elizabeth Gilbert. Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love and Big Magic and City of Girls. So the two of them, I think, are two of the most creative geniuses of our time. So we have partnered with the two of them to do an event. It was supposed to be a live event, but for obvious reasons, we moved it online, and it's going to be on October 31st, which is Halloween. And so what
Yes.
he is referring to is Rob Bell and how amazing he is. So the information is there. The URL is there if anybody wants to go and take a look at it. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I really want to talk about you. I want to talk about living unapologetically. I really want you to give all of our viewers an idea of how you really got started, because it is such a phenomenal story, Casey. I mean, and to where you are today, 28 years later, with 3 schools, world-renowned, 3 amazing holistic teaching colleges that are accredited. I'm always so in awe of what you've created. And so go ahead and take it away.
Well, let's start at the very beginning, because the way it got started is I was involved in a mastermind group in 1988. And the group were 12 women who all said, I don't want to live outside of who I am. We didn't use the word unapologetic then. If we had known that, we would have used that. But what we said is we didn't want our business to be anything different than who we were. Isn't that and so I would say that if an entrepreneur, if a person comes to the place that you don't want to be divided, like you don't want to work for a company that isn't who you are living in an apology. Like, oh, I'm sorry that I'm spiritual, or I'm sorry that I'm woo-woo, or I'm sorry that I just have to go to work for this company for the money. No, that was the thing. So in 1988, there were 12 of us that said, we're going to live authentically. And one of those people was your mother. And at the time, she was part of what she was doing was she was a psychic. And I got to tell you, that long time ago, you didn't say that you were a psychic
I know.
because
In
you were,
1988, people,
yeah,
1988.
yeah. And her story is, I don't say that I'm psychic because they might check me into a psychiatric hospital. Like that was one of her famous lines. And I said, I don't want to be anything other than who I am. And at the time, I was a massage therapist. I was a brand new massage therapist. I had a business. I had been in marketing, and I needed to stop and get, quote, a real job. And my job was to be a massage therapist. And yet I knew that I was more than a massage therapist. I knew that spirit was calling, universe was calling me to do something bigger, and that I wanted to use what ended up being the Gus word. I mean, some people kind of say, oh, well, I don't, God, universe, spirit. So for me, I started saying, I'm going to be in relationship, in partnership with Gus. And if it isn't spirit driven, if I don't feel like it is something that I can serve in the universe, I don't want to do it. And that's how Sweet House started. I started as a massage therapist working for a massage college. And that college would always make me apologize for who I was and what I believed. One of the big stories of my life is that I felt like I wanted to go and do something more than just Western massage. And the man that I was working for said, if you ever use the word Reiki or Shiatsu or energy, I will have you stick out your tongue and I'll cut it off. Yeah, it was like that. And it was like, whoa. And I went home to my husband and I said, I just want to stop apologizing for who I am.
Yes.
And the messages I feel like I'm getting, like, I feel like spirit is wanting me to start my own school. And
Right.
at that time I'd been married for a year, and my husband said, well, what would that take? And I said to him, oh my gosh, honey, it would take $3,000. I mean, $3,000. He wrote me a check, and that check covered the deposit and the first month's rent. And after that, I haven't looked back. It was that I stopped apologizing and I stepped in to the messages I kept getting. And so when I read Everything is Spiritual by Rob Bell, I realized that's how I've been living for the last 30 years. Like, everything is spiritual. And if it isn't, you're probably apologizing for it.
Yes.
Whoa. So
Yes,
it's like,
I've done that.
wow.
I feel, how many of you out there watching, all of our viewers, share with us how many of you have done that? Because I'm watching your messages. There's Claudina's here, Sweethouse here, Diana's here, everybody's here. And so Kelvin is here. So I want to know how many of you have found yourself apologizing for who you are in your
Apologizing.
spiritual beliefs. Yes.
Or apologizing for being spirit directed. Like
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing is
Yes.
I am through and through and through and through a yoga teacher. Of anything that I would say that I am, I'm a yoga teacher. And what I've come to realize is our yoga is to not apologize. In fact, we have a saying in our yoga class, there's no apology in yoga. And yet I would say there's no apology in life if we're going to be living our life. So
Mhm.
when I think about starting to live unapologetically, like stop apologizing.
Right.
I
Right.
had an incident today. I stopped in and I was just going to get an iced tea at AJ's up by where I live. And I
Right.
walk in and there's this old munchkin with his mask on. And I could even see through his mask, he was frowning. And he didn't like the direction of the door that I was going in. And like I was going in the side of the door that you would normally go in. And he says to me, well, aren't you going to apologize? And I'm thinking, for what? And so this is what I said to him. I'm sorry we're in COVID and you can't see that I'm actually smiling at you, sir. And it stopped him in his tracks. And yet what it stopped me in is I have now begun to discipline myself, Liz, not to say, I'm sorry. I mean, how often do we say I'm sorry just for
Oh, all the time. All the time.
walking in the door of a
All
guy
the time.
and running into a guy that was going the wrong way? So
Yes.
when I and so oh my gosh, if we began the discipline of not apologizing for our
Yes.
ideas, for walking in a door that leads to something. Now, I have this imagination that it was no accident that I met even that unsmiley face because there's no doubt about it. His eyes softened and if I could have seen his face, I know that there would have been a little smile on it. And that's what I believe about our businesses, that we're destined to meet people to be authentic with and to stop apologizing, and that then becomes the clients that we serve, becomes the students. It's like if we could just sink into everything is spiritual and that everything that we're doing, every decision is getting us that much closer to our destiny and to our dharma. I mean, I think to myself, look at you. What if you kept apologizing about every single thing that you did? You wouldn't be where you were. Your mother certainly didn't apologize. I mean, if there's anything, it was before the word life coach. But wouldn't you call your mother the best life coach in the world?
Oh
Like,
my God. I have to tell you, she got a lot. I don't know how else to say this, but she got a lot of shit from our family.
oh,
We grew up in a very, very conservative Jewish household, and she got a lot of grief for that. And I'm seeing so many of you are saying, Susan is saying that she has apologized. She says, no more apologies. I've apologized for my beliefs most of my life.
yes,
I'm finally living in authenticity.
yes,
Julie is sharing, she's so
yeah.
sick of it. Diane says, what a great story about feeling confident in not apologizing. Fliss is sharing the same thing. Everybody's like giving you high fives and saying
Absolutely.
you've absolutely done this. Yes. And
So
we're sick of it, aren't we?
actually, so it's interesting because one of the people that I got to stop apologizing, there's actually a book that is called Our Bodies Are Not an Apology. And think about that.
Oh,
How often as women we think we have to apologize for not looking a certain way.
right.
And so that was kind of the beginning, that it's an amazing book. And when I heard Our Bodies Are Not an Apology, for me immediately I said our lives, our businesses are not an apology.
Exactly.
Woo! So I
Exactly.
just sink into that. My life is not an apology. And what was really interesting is I think it was about chapter 5 or 6 in Rob Bell's It's All Spiritual. He tells this whole long story about how we actually fought to get here in the first place, that we wouldn't be born if we hadn't been inadvertently, listen to this, a fighter, a swimmer, a champion. And
Right.
if we're here and we made it here, then there's a reason, and that there are no extra peoples. Like I've said that literally for 25 years. There are no extra people. If you make your way to Sweeha, or you make your way to celebrate your life events, that wasn't an accident. You're not an extra. We have a seat for you. And then to read it in a best-selling book, almost the exact words, I'm thinking, this is the message we all need, is that we're not extra, and we're not getting extra ideas. So what's there to apologize for? No, we don't have
Exactly.
to apologize.
Exactly. Well, and my mom used to say, everything is perfect. That
Everything's
was like
perfect.
one of her mantras.
Absolutely.
Everything is
Everything's perfect.
perfect.
Yeah.
And
And so
and you're right, we're all supposed to be here. The
we're
divine
all
timing.
supposed to be here. So,
Absolutely.
it's like, well, whether they make it to a classroom, they make it into an event, or what I also love is that we here at Sweetheart, in fact, we have T-shirts that say, I see you. That is in Rob Bell's book. I see you. I mean, and he's saying, what if our mission in life is to just see people? Like, what if it was my mission today to meet this old guy that needed me to apologize? And in fact, I didn't apologize. And in fact said to, so I get really
I
excited
know, I know.
about
I
the
know.
mission that we have here on life. Our
Yes.
mission on life is to live unapologetically. Marianne Williamson would say, if we give ourselves permission to shine, we let others shine. So for me, you and I, Liz, stand for living unapologetically. The more that we live unapologetically, more people are going to live in a place of unapologetic. So, whoa, that may be now in the latter part of my life. My big thing is be unapologetic. Doesn't matter what you look like in your yoga outfit, be there. I mean, it doesn't matter what shows or what doesn't move. It's like, just
Right.
yeah, be there authentically. So, sure, the evolution of Sweeha has had its times, and we've certainly had an up and down. And this is what we know. Our message is as true today as it always has been. And that is that you need to find the thing within you that you can do authentically, and be willing to not apologize that you are charging for your services as a massage therapist, as a life coach, as a hypnotherapist, as an author. Like when we get to that point where we no longer have to apologize. Oh, the ticket for this is this much, or my professional fee is this much. Like, no, be who you are, and those that you're to serve will be drawn to you. That to me is the gift of being unapologetic. When we know who we are, and we know we've been directly sent from spirit, what do we have to apologize for?
It's coming out of the spiritual closet. And I know, I mean, there are times, and I need to be honest here, because there are times I still struggle with it. I mean, when I'm around my family at times, when I know in my heart there's something magical happening, there's something very, very like spiritual, and spirit is coming through, and I absolutely keep my mouth shut, because they don't really understand that language. And I've watched my mom, she got made fun of a lot. I mean, back in the 80s when she was talking about all this. So there is that little hiding a little bit. But what would happen if we, like, no matter who is around, just allowed ourselves to live unapologetically, to speak our truth, gently and lovingly, but to speak our truth in knowing that, okay, this is spirit driven right here and now. I mean, Gretchen just was sharing that. She said that I hid in the spiritual closet as a nurse while hiding my energy healing work. My mother's death helped me to step forward and stop apologizing and begin sharing my healing gifts. I see you, is what she said.
Yes. And I do
Absolutely.
There will come a day that all of us we meet the man in the door that says, aren't you going to apologize? And we say, I'm sorry for COVID and the fact that you can't see my smile. We don't apologize for ourselves. We apologize. We don't even apologize. We acknowledge that there's a thing.
Yeah.
Now, is there never a time to apologize? Of course, if it's truly something where, and the whole thing is how much of our language is apology. Now that I've started to say, I'm not going to say I'm sorry, because that's the key. I'm sorry. Then, I've got to quote Rob Bell again. He says, the moment we say I'm sorry, we're actually saying, I'm sorry I was born. God made a mistake. That's not true.
Wow.
I am here on purpose. There is nothing for me to apologize, or I would not have made it in the first place. Wow.
I know.
Wow.
I know that's good. So let me just go back a little bit. So what
Yeah.
Casey is talking about with Rob Bell, and I don't have the book on my desk. It's actually in my meditation space because I've been
Yes, it's a good place to
So
put it.
what Casey's talking about is Rob Bell. And Rob Bell and Elizabeth Gilbert are doing an event with us
Yes.
online at the end of the month. And Rob Bell's book, Everything is Spiritual, and I think Tanya and a couple of my staff members are going to post the link to the book. We have a Celebrate Your Life book club, and it's totally free. You just come out, we all read a book together online, and then at the end of the month, we always have the author of that book come in and answer questions and do a conversation. So, and Casey, I don't know if you knew he was the book club. The
Oh,
book
yes.
of, oh, you did. Oh, you did. Okay, good.
So that's why I'm saying everything is spiritual, because how could he be the person that I'm currently quoting? And my message of unapologetic is validated in his book, and that you are having him on Halloween. Like, to me, that's like,
Everything is sharing. And yes, it's like everything is spiritual, just fell right into place. It's just so
totally.
perfect. I know.
Totally.
So if you want to join the book club and just join the conversation, go ahead and click that link that they're posting and go ahead and get the book. Next Friday, I was going to say Thursday, next Friday at 1:00, Rob Bell's going to be on here with me on Facebook Live, and we're going to have a conversation.
Yes.
And maybe if you want, we could broadcast that to Sweeha also.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I get so excited about is that, all of the speakers you've had at Celebrate Life, many of those are actually the books, the required books within our curriculum that then either becomes a certificate or a diploma or maybe even a degree. And it's because we decided we would not apologize for the authorities that we wanted to recognize. So I think that we are we a movement? Do we have to apologize for being metaphysical or spiritual? Not anymore.
Nope.
If anything, it has become more mainstream. Like, I was just noticing something this last night. We're all so proud of Marianne Williamson for coming out as one of us and getting into this crazy political race. Do you know, I saw a banner that used her words. It was that we need to make a change for the soul of America. Like, who would think that that was the current political rhetoric? And yet it was because she was unapologetic about what she believed. She was saying to us, we are vying for our very souls. Let us not be apologetic about what we believe, how we're going to vote, and how we're going to speak. So everything is spiritual in this day and age. Yes, sweetheart, we've had this language for a very, very long time.
Yes.
And what we realize is that we now are mainstream, and that our ideas of being spiritual are mainstream. Well, this is what I think is so fascinating. The moment that we stop apologizing for being spirit directed or getting those God bumps, that's the moment others say, well, I get that. I get those feelings. I get those messages. And that we can realize that we are all much more the same than different. I'm convinced that if we have a family member or someone in our tribe of origin that is making fun of us, it's because we've made them uncomfortable.
Yes.
Which I believe is our
yeah.
job. I believe that is our job. And that I'm not going to apologize anymore for making the square-minded person in my community, in my family, uncomfortable. That was
You're giving me a lot of inspiration here. So family, watch out now.
If we landed in a closed-minded nest, it was so that we might open the nest. So yeah, I always say the moment you make your family uncomfortable, you know that you have been divinely sent to that family. So
I love it.
Don't apologize. Say
I'm happy
yes.
now. My cousins in Philadelphia better watch out.
Yes, that's right, because you're going to stop apologizing for the
Exactly.
authentic person that you are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the end, what's really fascinating is that is yoga. Like when we get really in touch with, there is nothing to apologize for. It's we think that yoga is just the physical asana, and that's just 1/8 of what it is. What real deep yoga is us getting very, very how would you say, we get so clear that there is nothing for us to apologize for because we are the outputting of the divine. Like
Mhm.
the divine is expressing through us. And we do that. Yes, we do yoga just so we can sit and be the expression of the divine. Don't you love that?
Are you doing any yoga online right now?
We still do have a few yoga studio classes online. Luckily, we're for the most part, our yoga teacher training is back in session on campus. And yet we do a couple times a week we have where you can tune into the studio and tune into a yoga teacher. What I find during this COVID time, it's so fascinating, is that more people have tried yoga for the first time than ever before. More people are being drawn to the fact that yoga is not just the pretzel side of the asanas, that really yoga is all about being so authentic. You have nothing to apologize for because you realize that you're an expression of the divine. Like,
Are you,
whoa.
are you teaching yoga?
Yes,
Okay, where can we get a yoga class? Let me post the URL. What is the URL? Come on.
yeah, I mean, yes, we will. You can go to Spirit of Yoga, um, and I think it's spiritofyoga.edu, and every Wednesday, and then other times, and then we have we all through
There we go.
COVID, we actually had daily yoga classes, and those are all available as well. So, it's just so
Good.
interesting. It's just so interesting that we've got to look at what the perfection of this whole COVID thing is. I mean, we really do. And here at SWIA, what we came to realize is we thought you had to be in person to touch one another and really be in community. And I think what all of us found, you've certainly found it, that
Right,
we
right.
can actually reach more people through the ethers of a Facebook Live or a Zoom or whatever it is needs to be. And so the blessing is there isn't a separation when there is intention. I started my day today joining a global gathering, and that was of my teacher. His name is Amrit Desai. He's 88 years old, and
Yoga
he was
Namaste.
broadcasting from Florida. He was the man that I had a chance to go to India with it was last January. And what he said to me is what you and I have to say to all those that listen to us, and it's this: there is no separation unless we choose to see the separation. Yeah.
There's no
So
separation. You're right. You're absolutely right.
so that's why it's so fabulous to have the on or the in-person events for Celebrate Your Life, or the in-person classes here at SWIOP. And this is the thing: there is no separation unless we choose to see the separation. And where does separation come from? It's where we think we have to apologize that we have to do this online.
I know it's different. So when you're thinking about what's going, and because I love all the insights and information that you get. I mean, you're just like constantly downloading the divine. I think.
I do,
I
because
know you
that's
do.
where I want to live. I want to live in that place.
Right, and constantly in communication.
Yeah.
So what are you getting? What kind of insights are you getting about everything that we've been going through right now? All this whole COVID situation.
I think it's a correction. I really do. I mean,
Mhm.
it's like if we can look at it not from a political perspective, look at it from a spiritual perspective. What if we said, all right, we're going to do something in the world that's going to bring us back to our authentic selves, or in a language, back to yoga? It would be
Mhm.
COVID, because we have to go within. We have to maintain our sovereignty within our own self and within our own family. So yes, there are a lot of inconvenience,
Mm.
and yet the blessing is that we have been drawn back to to what's important. If you think about it, you take all of the masks away and all the things that we can't do. What can we do? We have more time to be in prayer. We have more time to be in meditation. We have more time to journal. We have more time than ever before to be spiritual. Thank you, COVID. Like, think of it that way. If we continually resist and resent COVID, we will forever be in that place of resistance and resentment. If we embrace the gifts of COVID, that internal knowing that I'm safe, I am not afraid of COVID. I am afraid of those that are afraid. Not for me, but for them, that they get so down the rabbit hole that they get into a place that they're very far away from the divine. I fully feel that I'm protected. I feel like my business, your business, those businesses that are in this positive intention, we're fine. We're fine. And that the invitation really is to step out of the fear. And the only time that we apologize is when we're in fear. Think about it. The only time. Oh, I need to say I'm sorry because I'm wrong. I stepped on someone's toes. I did this. No. When we stop apologizing, we begin to accept that everything is spiritual and that we're in the flow of the divine. When you even say that, you can feel our whole body begin to settle. And that is the definition of yoga, that we go, it's called pratyahara, where we're not, Wah! Instead, we've brought everything down. And that gives us then a place that we can meditate into and that we can be with the divine. It was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy before COVID. Think about it.
Yes.
And now,
Yes.
is it any more calm? It is, if that's the way that we choose to see it. So I think from a big perspective, if I were a metaphysician saying, listen, this is what has happened to us and why, it's a correction so that we are not out there, rather in here. That would be what I would metaphorically and metaphysically say about the gifts of COVID.
Wow. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense because we really, I mean, some people are, but we really can't go out and gather with crowds and can't be out there. So it's almost like Mother Nature and the universe is saying, okay, time out, guys, time out.
And yet we can gather. I mean, look how many people watch your podcast. Look how many people come to your online events that maybe even couldn't have because they couldn't get here to Phoenix, Arizona. So exactly. The only separation is when we think there is separation. That's certainly what we have found, is that we actually have more students in many ways that are comfortable getting their education online or through the Zoom platform. And those that come in, there are less of them. And so they are more socially distanced. So part of it is not resisting what is. Isn't that the message of every single metaphysician from the yogis of past to the current people that are speaking and writing best-selling books or having someone share? It's all about resist not, so that you can come to that place of authentic peace, which of course is living unapologetically. You're unapologetic when you are truly yourself, you know it, and it's okay if others don't validate that, because the only validation you need is that of you and the divine. That's it.
I'm going to just ask everybody, if anybody has any questions about what Casey is talking about, go ahead and post it in the comments. But I do have a question for you. So when you're saying unapologetically, you're really talking about unapologetically being authentic to who you are and speaking your truth.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. I mean,
okay, but I just want to make it clear that if we screw up or hurt somebody, it's not that we're not saying, I'm sorry, oh, I didn't mean to do that. That's not what you're saying.
Absolutely. Okay. You know, and it's so interesting because there's this whole beautiful Hawaiian practice called ho'oponopono. And part of it is, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. And I really resisted the I'm sorry part. And so for me, I had to translate that word to, I acknowledge that if there really is something, I acknowledge that I may have stepped on your feelings, Liz. I acknowledge that. Am I sorry? Well, let me throw this to you. What if I'm not sorry because it allowed me to look deeper at what our friendship or our relationship is, and that it takes me to a place where I can say, wow, thank you for speaking your truth, that you were hurt, so that I can now say, I care so much about you, Liz. I'm going to say to you, I'm aware. Thank you, teacher. Let's see what this is for us as soul sisters. I mean, there's this whole thing that more than ever before, we're being drawn into our soul circles. And it's not just in a locale. That's why we have a chance to be working with the entire world. Like, your business probably has expanded bigger because you now can reach a global community.
Mhm.
And so, do we need to say I'm sorry, or do we need to say, or would it be preferred to say, I acknowledge that there is a lesson here for us? It's just like the man in the market this morning.
Oh.
I didn't say I'm sorry. I acknowledge that there's COVID, and I can see that you can't see that I'm smiling at you, sir. So right now, I'm in a current place where I'm sorry doesn't serve me. I will certainly say, oh, I acknowledge that, wow, I wasn't aware that what I just said offended you, or what I just said was not conscious. Whew, it's just
I
a
like
discipline.
that. I
It's
really,
just a
really, really
discipline.
like that.
It's just a discipline.
So powerful.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, I had a whole discipline of, I don't say, I really work at not using the word but, because but
Negate. Right.
negates everything.
Yeah,
It's
I do that too.
the same thing with our apologies. And then when we begin to think, wow, if I say I'm sorry, am I saying I'm sorry that you chose me to be on earth at this time to do this work? Like, we can really get very metaphysical about it, and it even gets to be more of a message. Like, I don't want to say I'm sorry you made the decision to express yourself through me. I mean, when you really say, I am the divine expressing itself through me, and I say I'm sorry, then it's saying, oh, you made a mistake choosing me to be your expression. That's not true.
Hmm.
Instead of us saying, I'm sorry, if we replace that with thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to run into you. Thank you for the opportunity to stop and let me see you. Thank you, teacher. Like, there are several people in
Right.
my life that I can say, oh, I'm sorry that they were my whatever it was. And instead I'll say, thank you, teacher. Thank you, teacher. Woo, thank you, teacher. And
Right.
then it begins to put a whole new perspective. So can we say thank you that COVID has been? We can. Everything, every divorce, every argument, every piece of trauma, we can say thank you to, versus, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you, or I'm sorry that happened to me. No, our soul needed that. That I absolutely believe, that
Right.
whatever the curriculum for our soul is, it's never anything to apologize for. It's thank you. Whew.
It takes the weight off. It just totally, it just shifts the energy of that. It just does like a 180. So Heather asked, so there's a couple of questions here. So Naveen said, even if we apologize for ourselves, so what if we're apologizing for us, for ourselves, meaning for our own well-being?
If that works for you, Levine, then bless. And I would just say, what words could you substitute instead of saying, I'm sorry? What else? I have to understand a little bit more about our question, but
Yeah.
think about the words that are so powerful. Rather, because really, I'm sorry is the biggest but we could use. Like, but I'm not good enough. I'm sorry, I'm not. Instead, it's like, I acknowledge. So for me, it works. Rather
Acknowledge.
than saying I'm sorry, I'll say I acknowledge, because it is really exciting to acknowledge, because from that acknowledgement comes inquiry, and from that inquiry comes clarity. And always clarity leads us right back to the divine. Like, oh, I'm clear. Oh, I wonder what this is. Now, do I find myself saying, oh, I wonder what this is for me or my soul? Absolutely. I wouldn't be a metaphysician if that weren't my question. Do I choose to say, to eliminate, I'm sorry? I do. I do. Because I want to be in that powerful place of never questioning that the divine made Well, the divine doesn't make a mistake. That's my first underpinning belief. So if the divine doesn't make a mistake and decided to express itself through me, how can what I do ever be a mistake? It can certainly be an awareness for my soul's growth.
Because but don't you believe that the human, like the ego part of ourselves, the human part of ourselves, that angry part of ourselves or anxious part of ourselves might do something inappropriate to hurt somebody else?
Oh, absolutely. And that's where
Okay.
we have to realize that part of us is not the true part of us. That's the personality acting out.
Right.
And we have this, we can observe ourselves. Like I always say, we know when we're a
Okay, hold on a second. Okay. I lost you on, we know when we're not.
We know when we're a knucklehead. We know when we're out of integrity. And yet, whatever we do, whether it's unconscious or conscious at the time, there's a part of us that's the observer, that we do know that what we did or said was unkind, uncompassionate, whatever the adjective is. Our personality does it, and yet there's a bigger part of us that knows that we did it. And so that's the place I'm talking about, Liz, that we're living from this place where it's called the observer, the neutral observer. Even when we say or do things, the reason we feel shame or guilt is there's a part of us that knows that that wasn't a productive or conscious thing to do. So I would say our ego almost always works from that place of unconsciousness. And that it's that higher, we call it our higher self because we do look at things from that higher perspective.
And shouldn't we apologize for the behavior that
if that serves you to apologize for
and there are two people on here that are saying, I resist giving up, I'm sorry. Leslie just said that. And it's a deep-rooted habit. Yeah,
if you knew this. And so should we apologize for the behavior? Or, wow, I am aware of this behavior now. Wow, like I need to look at this. Wow, this behavior creates separation. This behavior is not supporting the divine being that I'm choosing to be. So we just have to, and if you decide that I'm sorry is the mantra of divinity for you, well, bless. I'm not gonna be the one that would say that. I'm just suggesting that words are powerful. Words are powerful, and even more powerful is our practice. If it is your practice to not apologize for yourself and your divinity, then you begin to get very, very conscious, and you live in a very different way.
Right.
And it's fascinating. Just taking a little inventory of how many times you want to apologize for something you've done, or you think that you need to apologize to make someone else more comfortable. Woo! So it's a practice.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I have done that with family over and over again. Over and over again.
And I think about all of the people that are in unsafe relationships where they can't have the thoughts that I'm having. And yet, what I can say, one of my messages is, there are times that we have to love those that we think we love from afar. Like, okay, bless. I'm not going to say I'm sorry I married you. I'm not going to say I'm sorry that you mothered me. I'm not going to say I'm sorry that we're sisters. I'm going to say, wow, what was this soul lesson that I needed that husband or that mother or that sister or that whatever. It's all about being conscious and realizing that everything's spiritual. There are no extra people. There are no extra experiences. There are no bad. Everything's perfect. If we take it to that spiritual dimension. Now we can dissect it down into the mundane and the human. And yet I'm saying, what if our evolution now is to live in a very spiritual, conscious way where we choose to release words like I'm sorry. If it is an apology, if it's an apology for who our authentic divine self is.
This is so perfect. Everybody's going, this is exactly what I need to hear today. Everybody wants to practice it, because I remember, and it wasn't too long ago, where we had a family situation come up where, I was standing in what I knew to be true for me, but then kept apologizing and because my decision affected so many people in the family, and I kept apologizing and apologizing for my choice.
Yeah.
Apologizing for my choice. Wow.
And
So
yet,
good.
what if it's this is,
Watch out, man.
what if you're saying to your family, dear family, I get that I'm making you uncomfortable. I get that you don't agree. And this is what's true for me. I must stand in my truth. I mean, honestly, how many of us are going to the voting polls right now? And we have people in our community or in our family that are saying, vote like this, vote like this, vote like this.
Right.
We're saying, you know what? I get that you're in a different color than I am. And I honor that. And what I know is true for me as I vote for myself, as I vote for America, as I vote for the freedom of expression, it has to be true and authentic. I can no longer apologize that I hear messages directly from Spirit, and I must act on them. That's my message.
I love you so much, Casey. You're such a rock star. Okay, any closing messages? We're going to go ahead and close out now, but any closing messages that you would like to share with anybody? Any other questions before we close out for today? Anything like just that last bit of, I mean, this has all been such magical wisdom.
Well, what's the most magical thing to say? That we're magic. That the magic is our authenticity, and that the more that we embrace the absolute unexplainableness of all of us have a piece of us that is unexplainable. We could apologize for that part that doesn't fit in, or we could in fact say, blessings, 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 blessing. I am who I am. That's what the yoga chant, so hum, I am that I am. And the great I am said, just say of me, I am. If we say I am, and I can't apologize for who I am, because then I would be disvalidating the I am.
Right.
That I am. So hum.
Yes. Everybody's telling me Casey is a rock star. Yes, thank you. So inspiring, magical, and unexplainable. Thank you. Everybody's putting in comments. So thank you so much. We've been with Casey Miller, the founder of the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts, Southwest Institute of Yoga. Spirit of Yoga. I always call it the South Spirit of Yoga. So you can check check everything out. It's at swiha.edu, right?
That's right.
Here, let me go ahead and put this, SWIHA.
Right.
.edu.
One of the reasons that I'm active on Facebook is so that people can back message me. I may not always be friends, but I do work on answering every single back message that I get. If someone is following me or they have a question, I will certainly answer and recognize that I do see you.
You're such a blessing. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Our hearts are yours. Mwah.
All right.
And we will see you next week with Rob Bell.
Rob Bell. We'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Thanks.